You know what? All I have to say after watching this latest Dandadan episode is who's laughing now, mofos? Now, granted, I am actually proud, and you won't hear me say this often, I'm actually proud of with the anime community, because mostly the anime community agrees towards the proper grandma would. But, I did see some people last week say, why is everyone saying he should have showed the grandma his parts? No, like, the age gap, blah blah blah, no. Had he shown last week, he would have realized his balls were missing. And with that comes one wild ride where we end up kind of in a Mob Psycho 100 situation, where essentially Turbo Granny has turned into the dimple of the show. And I mentioned it last week, I really thought they were going to put Turbo Granny in the cat statue because of the ending song. But then Turbo Granny got eliminated, so I'm like, oh, there will be a different character that'll happen to. Turns out, no, little bit was lingering in, and Turbo Granny basically said, hey, if you want your balls back, you're gonna slit both of these bitches' throats. And then he's like, what? And luckily, we've kind of neutered Turbo Granny, which is kind of hilarious when you think of it, because she actually is a lot more passive now, and we put her inside a cat statue, and neutering, calming them down, it's kind of funny. But the show's legitimately getting better with each episode, and this was, like, objectively the tamest out of the 5 episodes, yet I'd personally argue it was, once again, my favorite episode. It's steadily increasing. Great characterization, great setup, and honestly, the show's just an absolute banger. Now, of course, full live reactions over on Patreon. If you want to see my full good thought to any of this Dandadan greatness, it's over there exclusively. So, the first, 15 minutes of this episode is actually pretty tame. It's all focused on the characterization of Momo and Ken, and basically what happens after, well, they really did just kind of get thrown together and were, the chemistry was there, and they felt like they've known each other their whole life, but they are relatively new to interacting with each other. So you had, the embarrassment of how to deal with each other at school, and, we actually get to see quite a bit in terms of that. I appreciate the fact that our girls' class was kind of just more like, yeah, you go, girl, or just kind of being more playful versus the kind of toxicity on the general school, like with Ken's class, and, the girl near the end of the school day who basically, played up the super nice to just be like, oh, that dude's never gonna get touched again in his life. Totally expected our girl to walk past, holding onto his arm, because, that's the predictable thing. Instead, she decided to almost kill her, which just kind of cemented her as best girl for our boy, because she literally, sure, did it kill her? No, but I mean, she used psychic powers to knock that fool on the head, and then walked past, not only with her arms linked with our boy, but also talking mad shit about how he's so great, and bimbos don't know shit, basically. Just fantastic. But I appreciate that they just said, you know what? We could have been like any other show that just says, hey, one crazy bullshit to the next, and just that's how they grow together. But at the end of the day, they will have some mundane, normal days, like going to school. It's pretty cute seeing both of them want to talk to the other about their pastime and their kind of hobby, because the show started off with one saying ghosts ain't real and the other saying who gives a shit about aliens, and now those exact comments are coming from the people, opposites, like, no, actually I do want to talk about aliens, I do want to talk about spirits. So you see how much the past couple of nights or night really kind of made them bond and kind of go against their core belief. It's really good characterization. It's silly, it's funny, it's sad at points too, but it just has that level of okay, this show's more than just the big shock factors. It's more than just Granny wants to slurp on his knob or steal his balls. It actually has other stuff outside of that whiplash comedy. The show gonna be vulgar, the show gonna be wild with production, no one's gonna deny that, but the thing that I've been continuously talking about, especially in the past couple of videos on the channel, is that the thing that holds this show together is the dynamic between Momo and Ken, because you legitimately feel like you've known them your whole life. You feel like, okay, there's no way that we're 3, 4, 5 episodes into a show like this, just given that it feels like the way the author wrote these characters and the way the voice actors are nailing their performance, it's like we've known them much longer than we actually have, which makes their immediate chemistry with each other feel very genuine and believable, which not a lot of authors get right, because there is a lot of mangas and light novels or anime original shows that just, it kind of just forces characters together and you're just supposed to go along with it, but it does feel a little too contrived, a little too forced, and you just kind of are like, where's the character development? Where's the moments to make us feel like they've bonded? Where with these two, and there's this moment that I really like, her two close friends in her class, right? So they're basically thinking, oh, she's probably reminiscent about a boy, the ex, blah, blah, blah. And immediately, after a couple of scenes, they pretty much look at her after they've kind of walked away and they're like, God damn it, like, they're perfect together. Like, they just immediately recognize that the energy that he was giving her and she was giving back, like, that's the type of person that's made for the whack job friend that they have. And that just kind of highlights how I think the viewer is feeling about how, like, yeah, despite them not knowing each other all that long, the way they interact, it just feels like they have known each other their whole life. And I think that's the key difference to this author versus a lot who have probably tried similar things where it's like, you don't really feel like they have a lot in common and they're only sticking together because the author needs them to, because eventually that will be a ship that sails. Where with here, it's like, no, they just have chemistry. It's just immediate chemistry, and it's hard to find that level of chemistry in life, but it does happen, whether it be a friendship or, a relationship, whatever it's going to be. It might even just be a work pal, right? Like, it does happen. It's just rare, and I appreciate the rest of the cast doesn't just fall into that trope and trend of how they're doing it. Now, in terms of the Turbo Granny stuff, really liking that as well. I think it's good to have like a kind of mascot character, and I think putting it in a talking cat doll is just perfect. But I was expecting it to be a different character because I was under the impression that Turbo Granny was gone. And I think the way they handled it was pretty nice because, like, we had the whole kind of emotional, like, when the spirits were kind of being freed, like, you could tell Turbo Granny wasn't evil. Like, she was kind of a crazy bitch, but she wasn't evil. She actually cared, and having that connection allows for us to connect, even though she does drop the bombshell that she dropped the ball somewhere. And it does bring up a very big question. So the balls have a protective layer around them, We don't know what our Ken doll is looking like down there other than having his knob back. Is the sack with the balls? Or are his balls just somewhere in a pile of dirt? Because if so, ouch. Like, I really hope there's a protective layer keeping the balls secured, but apparently she tossed them somewhere. This show is going to have us saying some of the most unhinged shit known to man, yet simultaneously people who don't watch this show and hear some of the shit we talk about grannies, dicks being stolen, balls being stolen, it legitimately has some of the best characterization I've already seen this year. Like, it sounds wild, it sounds like I'm taking the piss, but it's legitimately true. Like, look at this episode. 3/4 of it was like legitimately just really good characterization, and then they sideswipe us with the dick and balls jokes. Let me know your feelings down below. What are you thinking of the direction the story's taken? I definitely think the show is still getting better with each passing episode, but your thoughts down below. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, and of course ring that bell. Like I mentioned, we have full live reactions over on Patreon, and hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout out. So today we got Selkie, Pixel Caliber, Sign, Teeny Bopper, and we also have Ashless. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care. You all have a good one.